I decided for ease of wiring that I would use this panel for the inverters. This will be the shore power in breaker, and then these will be 1, 2, 3, 4 output wires, and then these are going to be for the little circulating fans. They look like that. Yeah, just little waterproof thing. Not a huge consumer. So these will only be on when the inverters are on, which is, you know, pretty much every time, all the time. Anyway, so production. So yeah, so this thing, I needed to find a place to mount it, and really the only place was above the inverters. The fans, I'm going to mount a fan on each side over here with these little aluminum brackets that I made. So this one will sit behind here like this. Oops, it's not on there yet. And same here. Those little holes are for the fans. Fans have some little holes in here for the wiring. So I had to drill some holes. Let's see if you can see it. There's production. Right, there's my reflection. So there's one, and there's another one like over here behind some wires. So there's those. I also, because you know where it is and everything, there's a super busy land in here. So you'll see the bolt there under the shunt. So I had to relocate the shunt up. Luckily, the other side missed that bus bar, so that's really good. I didn't have to mess with the bus bar. Let's see what else. And then, so the shunt had to go up, bigger bolt, bigger screws to get into the wood. No big deal. And then over here, here's the studs right here for the whole thing. And it'll stand off the breaker box panel and the fans enough that the wiring can still go behind it, and not a big deal. And you can probably reach it still as well. So that's good. Getting this electrical panel for the inverters set up. This is the shore power in. This is output. These are all 50 amp outputs for each individual inverter, and then this is just for the little circulating fans that are going to move the air in there. 120 volt waterproof-ish things. They're quiet, which is important. So I'm just getting these wires all tidied, and hopefully it'll make it a little more manageable. Trying to shove the wad of wires down in between the spaces proving to be a major challenge. Put no less than 1 million zip ties on this. I'm glad I got the big bag. I'm hoping that this will get all of these wires into the spaces a lot more easily. There's just very little space, and trying to get all these wires in there has proved to be a challenge. So I'm hoping that a bunch of zip ties will clean it all up. Joe made this inner hoop thing here that goes all the way up and around. I did some tube notching and got these two little studs. I got 2 more I'll probably put up there, so there'll be 4 along the top, and then probably 3 maybe down the sides. Maybe. We'll see. This side looks like it needs to be bent that way just a little bit, or this side needs to go that way. One way or another. Up here, the gap is pretty much uniform. That's all measured. I'm really liking the look of this thing. It's coming out really good. So now I just need to do a little bending, tweaking, and make this thing more permanent. Yesterday I had the chance to pull the welder out and weld this upper hoop in place, at least heavily tacked. So my abomination of welds here. This gap wasn't terrible, but it wasn't easy. I'll probably be doing a lot of grinding and sanding and smoothing out and then painting. However, the other side had the biggest gap of the whole thing, and it turned out to be hideous. And that will require probably a machine shop to smooth that out properly and all that. It just, it was a huge gap, and I was fighting wind and everything. I was trying to get it done before the wind set in. It was not happening. Anyway, this is it's certainly looking like a more better arch. I think once this, it's still a little wiggly. I still have these cross braces. They're loose now though, these cross braces here. So they're the rope ones, so I mean you can see it wiggles. The whole thing wiggles a bit. So I think it'll stiffen up quite a bit once this inner hoop is tacked up into place. So I've been trying to align all of the rungs, I guess you'd call them, on the piece here. And so this is like the lifeline stanchion, and I'm trying to get it so that the lifeline is pretty close to, you know, there. That's reasonable enough. And did all of this work and ended up needing to redo a couple of them. They just didn't quite fit right, so I had to recut, make them a little longer. Two of them I had to do, this one and this one. I had to redo them. That one seems to work out. The one that sits up here, that's that one. And then all of those over there. And then all the ones across the top. So this thing is, it's looking pretty good. It's all squared up-ish. And I think it just needs a little bit of alignment. This top section, it wants to twist a lot. So I think I'll need to like tack it and then twist it and then tack it again just to make sure it stays put. But yeah, it's really, really close. And as long as the weather holds out, I may actually be able to tack this thing in tonight, but we'll see. Finally had decent weather to tack up all of the parts and pieces on this thing last night. And this is the first time I think it's been unstrapped. I've always had the cross braces to keep the thing supported, and this aft section is extraordinarily stiff. The front is still a little wobbly, but I think once I get the solar panel mounted to it, it'll stiffen that up plenty. It doesn't really matter too much. I don't think that it's a wobbly anyway. The aft section is the most important. But I'm really liking the way this thing is turning out. There's quite a bit more pipe to put on it. This will get like a seat back here, and then a rail, and then over here gets the hinged hoopy thing for the to hoist the dinghy up. And then that upper section there needs to be a little cantilevered support triangulated doodah. So I think I'll get the hinged hoopy thing bent first, and then make the support for the solar panels, the extension that comes out afterwards. A little bit better close-up of my recent welds. This one's a little bit older, but this is, you know, last night. These welds are looking way, way better. I think that's the welder settings and getting used to all of this. Of course, then I do that, which is, you know, not fun. I guess my pipe needed a vent there or something. Oh well, I'll fill it up and grind it down, and just like the rest, like this one, oh yay, big gap fill. And then yeah, there's these ones. These all turned out pretty good. I don't know that I would ever be paid to weld, at least not like this. Maybe do repairs. But then there's this horrible, ugh. This is gonna need a lot of grinding and a lot of paint. Get it all figured out. But yeah, here's more of the ladder welds. It worked out pretty good. Yeah. I also got this stick finally welded on, which is great. And then I did some more heavier welding on that foot down there so it doesn't go anywhere when the thing gets lifted. The way I understand it is that all of this needs some heavy duty welds so that it doesn't fall apart, which I guess let's take a look here. Not sure that I think I missed this one. Yep, I did miss this one. So this one, this is the cross. This will need probably to get hit again before, probably need to weld this up really well before lifting it because I don't want these welds to break. But everything else, like all of the tops of the X's to the big pipe is all heavily tacked. It's almost ready to pull down and do the final welding on, do the rest of the fab. I wanted to do a little fit test on the solar frame. So there's a backstay, single backstay going to be back here on the transom, and that ends up coming just when I sight it, just inside the cross brace here. So it'll be like right in this general vicinity, and it goes straight up the mast to the masthead. It's eyeballing it, looks about perfect. So it gives me a little wiggle room fore and aft for doing the backstay tensioner, and I wanted to put this solar frame up here just to see how much clearance I had for the boom and the topping lift. And it is certainly close. I don't know that I could have calculated it any better. A little video from the ground. Stand up on this here concrete block so you can kind of see. There's the solar frame. I'm not really enthusiastic about the 3 points of contact with it, but it would probably be fine. The solar frame is very stiff, and when it's attached to the solar panel, it just stiffens everything up like crazy. So I don't think it's gonna wiggle or go anywhere. Even still, kind of floating out like that is a little questionable. Yeah, and then down here you can see when you sight up the transom to the masthead. So that's the masthead right there. And that looks pretty darn perfect. So it's gonna just miss the X on the aft section of it. And the solar frame is like right there. I made these little pieces up today. These are going to be the tabs to hold the hinging hoopy thing on the back. So this thing will be like this. This piece will go something like that in there with the hole. And then there will be like these two tabby things welded on there. I don't know if I can do this with one hand, but we'll find out. Not like that. Anyway, yeah, so there will be like a little gap. That's what the little extra spacer's for. So this one goes away. And then that'll pinch down on these little Delrin pieces here. And then this will be the bearing. I'll drill a hole through the middle of that, and then I'll drill a bigger hole here, and I'll use big rigging pins for this thing. So this thing will sit roughly there. I'll notch the hinged hoopy thing, which is the same size as this 2-inch tube, and it'll sit like right in here. And then I'll be able to clamp it without interfering with the bolts, and then this thing will twist like this, right? So this would be the up position, no, down position, and then it's going to come up, it's going to do that. And then this little thing, you know, the flanges will stick out a little bit. And then that should, the other hoopy piece should sit somewhere like in there, like that. So there'll be a little bit of a gap, which is great. And then on the upper section of the main hoops, I can have like a little keepers and a little bumper too, a little, you know, rubber baby buggy bumper thing. I built these brackets today. These will be for the aft solar panel mount. I'll weld these onto the main tubes, and then I'll be able to bolt the solar panel frames on there. And then these will be the forward mounts on the crossbar that I made. It's still kind of hot, but kind of show you the idea. So I use the tube notcher just to shave out this little section, just a little saddle, so that it will sit on the pipe about like so. And then it'll make it a little bit easier to weld. And then I can through bolt the solar panel frame to it, and then I'll be bolted on the 4 corners. I think that's reasonable enough. The other frames are held on with something similar, 4 attachment points, and should work really, really well. Plenty strong, all that stuff. So maybe I'll get to some welding. It's still really windy right now. It's kind of easing off, so we'll see if it gets far enough. Working on Sam's boat. We got the mast in the air, and this is the Dyneema standing rig. So it's rope rigged, holding up the boat. And here's the backstay. So he's got like a V sort of thing. So if he wants to do a tensioner, he just needs to do a couple of blocks and then kind of pull it down, and that'll tension it. But there's your shroud frapping knot and the lashings for the backstay. Pretty fancy looking. And there's this side over here. These, it's all done up in Dyneema.